What sort of commander decks would Nobara, Mei Mei, and Kurourushi play in Magic the Gathering? Hello, and welcome to my 5-minute deck breakdown, where we'll go over decks inspired by these Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers. I'm going to capture the powers and abilities of each sorcerer, highlight key cards that best represents their curse technique, and go into the general strategy of how they'd play a typical commander game. One major caveat: we are not using custom cards for this breakdown series. The cards representing Nobara, Mei Mei, and Kuro will be based on legal commander cards only. Now with that intro out of the way, what sort of deck would Nobara Kugisaki play in Magic the Gathering? Looking at Nobara's curse technique, Straw Doll and Resonance, she has the ability to link a smaller piece of a target's body part to their main body using cursed energy. Then when she damages the linked piece with her hammer, it deals massive damage to that main target. To properly capture Nobara, we need a hammer-wielding commander that can deal damage to effigies in order to burn your opponents directly. Imodane the Pyro Hammer is a 4-mana mono-red human knight with the ability, whenever an instant or sorcery spell you control that targets only a single creature deals damage to that creature, Imodane deals that much damage to each opponent. What we're trying to accomplish with this deck is to bring out creatures that deal damage to each opponent when they're dealt damage. Cards such as Brash Taunter, Coal Hauler Swine, Giggling Skitterspike, and the most thematic, Stuffy Doll. With Nobara on the field and the Voodoo Doll creature, we can use these powerful red spells to target our own creatures, arcing the damage to each opponent in our game. Cards like Torbrand, Thane of Redfell, and Toralf, God of Fury will increase the damage each red sorcery or instant will deal, helping us close these games out quick before white sets up stack pieces or green ramps to infinity. The next Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerer we're covering is all about birds. Mei Mei wields a massive great axe, and her innate technique, Blackbird Manipulation, allows her to control a murder of crows in battle. Her secondary ability, Bird Strike, makes each crow cast self-destruct using a binding vow, dealing damage that can even hurt special grade curses. There are 2 ways you can represent Mei Mei in a commander game. One way is to use Enkira, Hostile Scavenger, who is an axe-wielding human warrior that makes herself indestructible when attacking alongside her zombies. Enkira also can force all of our opponent's creatures to block her if she's equipped with a weapon. The other way, which we're covering in this video, would be to truly express the power of her Blackbird Manipulation curse technique. Renma Creaking Nest is a 5-mana Golgari artifact creature scarecrow that allows us to generate 2/2 crows and give it to all players when a card with 2 card types enters the battlefield. The crows generated using Renma's ability have permanent goad, meaning as long as there are more than 2 players in a commander game, the crow tokens must attack a player other than you. Our goal for this deck is to trigger Mei Mei's ability as often as possible by playing these dual-typal creatures and lands each turn. The crows that we generate for ourselves are going to be used as fodder in order to help us draw cards, empower our creatures, and pump up our mana. To represent Mei Mei herself in our deck, Champion of Lambhold is a powerful green stacks piece. She stops our opponent's creatures from blocking if the creatures are weaker than Lambhold. Lambhold also gets a +1/+1 counter whenever other creatures enter our battlefield, and in this deck that creature will mostly be crows. Our commander gives our opponents free creatures. How would that help us win? Well, letting our opponents amass crow tokens can allow us to deal massive damage late game. Besides them attacking each other, Massacre Worm will destroy all tokens, while also dealing 2 damage to each opponent for every bird destroyed. Pygmy Kavu lets us draw cards for each opposing crow, as they are black mana birds. Finally, Wingstorm is a 3-mana green sorcery that will end the game, as it'll deal X damage to each player, where X is twice the number of creatures with flying that player controls. This next deck also deals damage to our opponents with flying creatures, but instead of crows, we're dealing with an infestation. Kurourushi is a special grade curse spirit with the ability Curse Cockroaches. This technique allows Kuro to summon an infinite amount of insects that they can wield in battle. In order to capture Kuro in a Magic the Gathering commander game, the card we'll be using to represent him will be the Locust God. The Locust God is an 6-mana god creature, where whenever you draw a card, we get to create a 1/1 blue-red insect with flying and haste. The goal of our deck, similar to Kuro in the show, is just to overwhelm our opponents with a swarm of insects. Our deck is going to focus on drawing as many cards as possible, because unlike other token generator cards off drawing, Kuro will trigger off every card we draw. So we're drawing big. Harmonized Crescendo, Teferi's Ageless Insight, and Pol Jamar Illusionist can let us draw half our deck while also creating a horde of hasty insects. These insects can swing immediately, so cards like Shared Animosity, Raid Bombardment, and Cavalcade of Calamity will multiply the damage dealt each turn. Since our main fighting force is a singular creature type, anthems are the play. White Lotus Tile, Banner of Kinship, Obelisk of Erd can make each roach extremely beefy. Goblin Bombardment is a 2-mana enchantment that offers a response to any board wipe from our opponent, allowing us to sacrifice our roaches to deal 1 damage to each target. Finally, close out the game with damage triplers. Cavalcade of Calamity, City on Fire, Collective Inferno, along with the Roar of the Crowd, a burn spell that deals damage to a creature or player equal to the number of roaches we have in play. So, would you use any of these decks in your Commander game? Are there any cards you think would be better suited to make these decks work more effectively? Let me know. Also, thank you for watching this video. What should the next Jujutsu Kaisen character be that I cover? Let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for more.